Morning mist rose off the river Indra like steam from a kettle, softening the edges of the old stone warehouses that lined Riverbend's waterfront. Inside Waterfront Park, the annual vintage bicycle rally was already humming, freewheels ratcheting, bells chiming, and brass trumpets from the Dixieland Band, competing with the laughter of riders dressed in wool jerseys. Alex Wynne coasted past a row of high-wheeled ordinaries and pulled his copper-brown touring bike in beside the information kiosk. It was barely 7, but he'd already guided 40 enthusiasts on a dawn spin along the levee. Now came a few hours of unofficial duties, sharing route tips, judging the concours d'elegance, and he hoped talking Gus Tiller into selling him a pre-war French stem he had been eyeing since last year. Gus's spare parts tent sat at the western edge of the grounds, canvas flaps tied back, its interior gleaming like Aladdin's cave for mechanics. Chromed handlebars hung from the ridgepole, bottom bracket spindles lay sorted in cigar boxes, and whole crates of nickel-plated pumps stacked to one side made every restorer drool. As Alex approached, he saw Gus, thick-bodied, bald on top, beard dyed a mischievous burgundy, arguing with Miles Crank, a rival supplier who specialized in reproduction kits. Miles's saturnine face was flushed. "You sell one more guaranteed original that's actually my reprocast, and I'll petition the rally committee to ban you," Miles hissed. Gus laughed. "Prove it first. Originals don't need laser-etched barcodes." He shouldered past Miles and spotted Alex. "Win, that stem's set aside for you. Come back after the hill climb finals and we'll dicker." "Looking forward to it," Alex said. Behind Gus, Daisy Gable, the town's best frame painter, called for a 1-inch headset spacer she'd prepaid for. Gus waved her off without turning. Daisy's lips tightened. She stalked out, nearly colliding with Hannah Lowe, the mayor's events coordinator, who was pinning new signage to a post. Hannah offered Daisy a conciliatory smile that Daisy ignored. A frisson of trouble, Alex thought, but nothing unusual for the rally. Antiquity mixed with ego, cash, and collector's mania. Someone always felt slighted. Still, he made a mental note of the tension as he headed toward the main stage to announce the afternoon Century ride. The morning passed in a pleasant blur, judging glistening hub flanges, answering questions about cadence on coaster brake bikes, and shaking hands with tourists who thought his guidebook on regional routes was scripture. Just before noon, ominous clouds gathered. Alex ducked inside the Heritage Museum to escape a burst of warm rain, emerging 15 minutes later into damp sunlight and distant shouts. They came from Gus's tent. Alex ran. Several rally guests clustered outside, blocking the entry. He shoved through and froze. Gus Tiller lay supine on the oilcloth floor, a chromed drop handlebar rising grotesquely from his chest like a steel tree. Blood darkened his houndstooth vest and pooled onto the rag rug beneath him. One section of tent wall bore a spatter starburst. Someone gagged behind Alex. He knelt, impulsively checking for a pulse he knew wouldn't exist. The handlebar had pierced clean through. Gus's eyes were open, their bright challenge replaced by glaze. By instinct, he scanned the space. No overturned tables, no sign of struggle besides a knocked-over crate of seat posts and a splayed caliper wrench. The handlebar, the murder weapon, lacked brake levers and tape. Its quill stem was still attached. Odd if it had been wrenched from a bike on display. Where was the fork? Police sirens wailed. Chief Bill Forrester strode in moments later, grey moustache bristling. He and Alex had ridden brevet events together. They exchanged a brief nod. Accident? Forrester asked. Alex shook his head. That bar was driven in, not fallen on, and the blood trail doesn't match the position of the corpse. Someone staged it. Forrester turned to his deputies. Secure the perimeter. Nobody leaves the grounds unless we log their ID. While crime scene tape unfurled, the festival's gaiety leaked away like air from a puncture. Interviews began in the park's pavilion. Alex waited outside, restless. Finally, Forrester emerged. Your experience could help, the chief said quietly. You know these folks, eyes sharper than half my rookies. You want an amateur sleuth inside your investigation? Alex asked. I want a cyclist who can smell Sturmey Archer oil from 10 feet. Also, Gus had your number on speed dial. Figured you'd want in. Alex sighed. He hadn't woken planning to become a detective, but Gus's ribald baritone still seemed to vibrate in the air, demanding justice. First clue, the handlebar. Alex convinced Forrester's forensic tech to lay it on a trestle table. A 1940s GB Randonneur bar, clamp size 25.4. One side of the drop displayed new gouges. The stem bore no bite marks from a quill bolt wrench. The quill had been hammered downward, flaring the expansion cone so it would wedge permanently. Whoever used it wanted a rigid spear, Alex murmured. Tape residue around the tops revealed an unusual salmon-pink fibre stuck to clotted blood. That colour, Alex recalled, had surfaced only on one bike in the concourse, a 1951 Hetchins Baroque restored by Miles Crank. Pink tape to match the flamboyant lugwork. But Miles had been feuding publicly with Gus. Too neat. Next, Alex walked the interior of the tent with Forrester's permission. Gus kept the layout symmetrical, but the rug under the body was off-centre by a foot. Alex peeled it back, revealing another, smaller blotch of blood. So Gus was struck elsewhere, dragged and posed. A smudged track of brown grease curved across the floor, distinctive diamond-patterned tread made by vintage touring shoes. He photographed it and pocketed a sample of the grease with a cotton swab. Outside, he eyed the throng. Miles was pacing, chain-smoking hand-rolled cigarettes. Daisy Gable sat on a picnic table, wiping tears, but also glaring daggers at something unseen. Preston York, the antique dealer who ran the flea market booth, seemed absorbed in his phone, yet edged steadily toward the gate before a deputy turned him back. Hannah Lowe marched between comfort stations, phone to ear, orchestrating damage control with crisp authority. Alex questioned Miles first. I argued with him, sure, Miles admitted, fiddling with the rivet on his casquette visor. The man pawned off repro chain guards as NOS, but skewer him. Come on. During the storm, I was in the demonstration ring explaining derailleur indexing to newbies. Ask anyone. A solid alibi, confirmed by 2 witnesses Alex found quickly. Nonetheless, Alex noted a slice of fresh bar tape hanging from Miles's work apron, identical pink. He tracked Daisy next. I paid for that spacer. He kept brushing me off. Daisy's hazel eyes were red. When the rain started, I ducked into Preston's booth to keep my clear coat samples from spotting. I didn't leave until the screams. Preston corroborated her story, but Daisy's burgundy riding shoes matched the grease tread photo. An hour later, forensic results returned. The grease was Phil Wood waterproof. Its unique odour, wintergreen, was unmistakable. Any rider would recognise it. Gus rarely used Phil. He preferred 1950s graphite paste to maintain period authenticity. Whoever left the track had applied modern lube minutes before. Where had the murderer found Phil Wood grease at the rally? Alex remembered the maintenance station near the start-finish arch, run by volunteers dispensing chain wax and sample packets of Phil Wood. He headed there and learned that only 2 people requested grease during the rainburst. Daisy Gable, who'd needed it to silence a creaky pedal for a customer, and Hannah Lowe, who said she needed some for hinges on a sag wagon's door. Curious. A deputy hurried over. Chief says ledger book's missing from Tiller's lockbox. Ledger book, Gus's inventory and invoice journal. If the murder masked theft, the motive widened. Alex returned to Gus's tent. While evidence techs combed drawers, Alex's gaze caught the seam where tent wall met groundcloth. Something protruded, torn notebook paper, soaked. He eased it out. Jagged edge, as if ripped. Numbers, abbreviations, HL 15%, and a scribble of Gus's initials. HL. Could that be Hannah Lowe? The sky cleared to brilliant afternoon. Rally volunteers herded dazed participants into Riverbend's community hall. Hannah stood on the steps giving press remarks. Alex waited until cameras left. "You spoke with Gus this morning?" he asked. "He complained about the booth fee," Hannah answered briskly. "Same as every year." "Did you settle anything in writing? Maybe in his ledger?" She stiffened. "Why are you asking me? The police haven't—" "They will." Alex showed the scrap. His shorthand. Her pupils shrank, but she rallied. "H could be half the vendors here. Look, Alex, I don't appreciate innuendo while I'm trying to stop this festival from imploding." She pivoted away, revealing the heel of her vintage touring shoe. Diamond tread, rimmed with dried mud. Another piece fell in place. While others wore cleated racers or soft sneakers, only Hannah had chosen reproduction French touring shoes with that pattern. She'd boasted about them during opening ceremonies. But motive? Gus's fees hardly merited murder. Alex slipped behind the hall to think. A plank walkway overlooked the river. Wind rustled cottonwoods, and below a lone canoeist paddled upstream. On the muddy bank, a glint caught Alex's eye, a small brass object half buried. He scrambled down and retrieved a ledger clasp, monogrammed GT. Nearby lay more crumpled pages, waterlogged but legible. Lists of payments from the city of Riverbend to Crank Solutions, Gable Finishes, and others, but percentages kicked back to HL. Payoffs on inflated invoices. Gus had evidence of graft. He must have confronted Hannah, refused hush money, threatened to expose her. Kill him, grab the ledger, frame a rival, grim but plausible. Footprints tracked away along the riverside bike path. Alex mounted his tourer and followed the narrow, cracked asphalt that threaded between reeds and warehouse ruins. 2 tire prints lay fresh in the puddles. 32mm clinchers with a chevron center line, classic of 1930s Mercier utility bikes. He'd admired just such a bike earlier, displayed by Hannah as a prop for the mayor's photo ops. If she fled on it, she might beat a car through the traffic-snarled downtown bridges, but not a seasoned brevet rider. He shifted into the big ring and gave chase. Past the grain silos, the path climbed a levee. Ahead, a tan gabardine coat flapped behind a rider pumping furiously. The salmon-pink tape on the bike's bars drew Alex's eye. Wait, pink? So not Hannah's Mercier, instead the Hetchins, Miles's bike. Confusion momentarily slowed him, but adrenaline surged. He closed within shouting distance. "Stop! Police want to talk to you." The figure glanced back. The face under the newsboy cap wasn't Miles or Hannah. It was Preston York, the antique dealer. He wobbled, overgeared, trying to mash up a hill too steep for the Hetchins racing cluster. Preston dismounted suddenly, threw the bike sideways, and bolted on foot into Riverside woods. Alex braked, shouldered his bicycle, and ran after him. Years of guiding tours at altitude paid off. He lunged across a tangle of nettles, tackling Preston behind a fallen log. "All right," Preston gasped. "I didn't kill him." "Then why flee on stolen evidence?" Alex stared until the man deflated. I was buying silence. Hannah paid me to launder rally funds through my antique firm. Gus found out. He wanted a cut. I told Hannah. She flipped. Said she'd take care of it. After the screams, I panicked. Figured if I grabbed the ledger, I could burn it, break the trail to me. And the bike? Closest wheels I could find. Miles left it unchained. Alex cuffed Preston's wrists with a nylon toe strap he carried for emergencies and dialed Forrester. Deputies arrived, collected ledger pages, and led Preston away. But Preston's narrative still left the murder weapon and grease prints aimed at Hannah, and possibly Daisy, who also handled Phil Wood. Forrester exhaled heavily. "Let's bring in Miss Lowe." They found Hannah at the city marina loading boxes into a cargo van emblazoned Riverbend Parks and Rec. Inside lay banner stands, leftover T-shirts, and Gus's missing ledger in a waterproof courier bag. Hannah raised her hands when officers drew sidearms, yet her expression remained calculating. In the station interview room, she spoke openly. "Yes, Gus discovered my arrangement," she said coolly. "The rally's budget grows every year. No one checks line items. I padded invoices through friendly vendors, Preston, Daisy, several others. Kickbacks funded park trails that council stalled on, plus," a brittle smile, "my student loans." When Gus threatened exposure, she visited his tent during the rain, hoping to negotiate. He mocked her. I got angry. I spotted an unlaced handlebar, slammed him against the display, must have ruptured an artery. She shuddered but continued. I didn't mean to kill him, only scare him. The bar slipped deeper than I expected. After he collapsed, I dragged him onto the rug. I was shaking so hard I dropped my shoes in grease from his service tray. I snatched the ledger, wiped the bar with his shop towel, and left. "What about the pink fibre?" Alex asked from the doorway. I grabbed the nearest cloth to keep my fingerprints off the stem. It was Miles's demo tape roll. Fell from his pocket during their argument earlier. Didn't notice the colour. Intentional framing or panic? Hard to prove. But the confession sufficed. Twilight slipped across Riverbend as Alex pedalled back into Waterfront Park. Volunteers dismantled booths under strings of Edison bulbs. The air smelled of wet grass and spilled lager. Chief Forrester caught up beside him. "Lowe's booked, York's charged with obstruction, and we're sorting out who knew about the graft," he said. "If not for you, I'd still be hunting ghost cyclists." "I just followed tire tracks," Alex replied. Forrester chuckled. "Stay humble. That's why I trust you." A hush lingered near Gus's vacant tent, as if people unconsciously gave the spot wide berth. Alex paused, picturing Gus's boisterous grin. He would have yelled at them for acting as though bicycles caused death rather than joy. Then he would have slapped a palm on Alex's shoulder and offered discount rims. Alex zipped his jacket against the river breeze and swung back onto his saddle. The bike beneath him rolled silent and sure. Tomorrow he would lead riders along the very levee where the chase occurred, reminding them that wheels carry memories as well as people. Even haunted ones keep spinning forward. And somewhere up the road, in a patch of sunlit pavement, he imagined Gus laughing approval at that.